So on Tuesday morning, something happened to Jamie. He suffered a medical emergency, we're told.
This is all in Atlanta, where he's been working on a film.
With Cameron Diaz.
Yes.
And he was taken to the hospital, and it was bad. Bad enough that family members from outside of Atlanta, there were some in Atlanta, but family members from outside flew in and rushed to the hospital to be by his side.
So what's it like? Well, who are you hanging out with? Are you hanging out with Diddy? What are you doing?
I mean, yeah. I mean, you know what's crazy? I used to follow Diddy back in the day when Diddy had all of the songs out. Yeah. He was so famous, we couldn't get into our own clubs in LA.
I kind of have looked at my whole career and looked at where I am now, and I kind of feel like I'm a catalyst kind of artist where I'll do a thing that I naturally do, and then, you know, people see it, and then the reaction of that spawns other things to happen, you know what I mean?
Hollywood has always sparkled with glitz, red carpets, and flashing lights. But behind the velvet ropes, there's a shadowy world few dare to speak about. Some call it exclusive, others unsettling. And in recent years, we've seen artists step away from it all. Some quietly, some mysteriously. Andre 3000 vanished when he was still considered a creative genius at his peak. Jamie Foxx, the charismatic multi-talent, disappeared from public view only to return with stories that made us pause. Now, whispers are becoming echoes. Rumors have grown into conversations, and people like T.I., Gene Deal, and even Jamie himself have begun to crack open the doors of silence. Today, we're taking a deeper look into what Andre 3000 and T.I. have hinted at, and what Jamie Foxx may have endured when they crossed paths with Diddy's infamous parties.
That much, they probably put that place under LLCs or under a different thing where they're not being taxed directly based on it.
So you have something huge coming up, which is a documentary about P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, P. Diddy.
Yeah.
Did he do it, right?
Yeah.
I know you've been heavy on social media talking about it.
He did it. And I'm the only one who's been vocal about this long before it actually.
Oh, you've been saying this for a long time now. And then no one was, you know, they're just, why is he saying this? And now it's coming out like crazy. I mean,
but I also didn't participate. I also didn't go to those parties.
Yeah.
So a lot of the celebrity culture that you don't hear saying anything is because they participated to a degree.
Was there a reason you never went to those parties back in the day? Obviously, I know what's going on there, but is there a reason you never did?
I'm just not with all that all of the stuff that he's doing. I'm not into that type of stuff. I'm just a little more, maybe you could say basic or normal. You go to the 90s and Keefe D said he paid him to kill Tupac.
It's just real strange that he would be found at any kind of Diddy party or any kind of place with Diddy unless it's in a business atmosphere. So now what he's doing is he's making, he making the Christians look real bad right about now.
And you've been to these parties, right?
Oh yeah, I was there when he was doing the white parties in the Hamptons and the whole 9 yards. So I know what goes on at the parties. If, you know, they probably got a little bit more freakier, you know, as time went on, you know, because they got to the point whereas that they didn't even care. It used to be secretly, you know, where people used to go to, you know, separate rooms and different rooms, and they wasn't doing that out in the public, you know. So, but now they don't care. Men kissing men and all this other stuff. It's crazy.
So why do you think he was going to these parties?
I think that he's going to the Diddy parties, you know, bruh. If he's going, well, we know he's going to the Diddy parties, and I know that it's, I know what usually happens at the Diddy party, or what we told us happened at the Diddy parties. Maybe he needs to see it for himself, man. Maybe he needs to go there and really be involved in some things that could help save some individuals while they going to those parties. Or maybe he just going to, man, it's hard to even talk about. Why would you find a religious man You know, when you know that the saints supposed to separate themselves from the sinners, and why would a religious man like himself be at a party, which ain't nothing but sin that's going on, bro? Whether it's drinking, maybe fornicating, maybe, like I said, men on men, women on women. It's hard to put in perspective unless he's involving himself what is actually going on at the parties. It's hard, brother. Bro, you know, you can't, I really don't know why, as a spiritual advisor to him, that they buddy while he got a party with him like that and be at his parties. It's got to be, maybe it's something more that meets the eye.
He didn't say his name, but it was very clear to everyone who he was talking about here. Watch the reactions. To me, like, you could hear some laughter. There was laughter.
Yeah.
It was funny, but it's like people were on camera and didn't want to seem like they were laughing.
BET Awards positions themselves as the culture's biggest night, and once upon a time, Diddy was a big part of this culture. You know,
Right.
His after parties, you know, were a part of the BET experience. So, you know, life comes at you fast, but, you know, Kevin had to address the elephant in the room.
By the way, we should say, the Diddy after parties that happen after award shows, that's not what the trial is about. Those weren't freak-offs. The trial is something separate, but still, nobody wanted to be seen as laughing at him.
Diddy's parties were often described as the place to be, a who's who of Hollywood, music, fashion, and power. The cameras only ever showed the glitz, champagne, designer outfits, celebrity smiles. But if you listen to what's being said behind the scenes, a different image begins to emerge. According to several sources, these weren't just elite parties. They were structured environments with strict unwritten rules. There are accounts of strange rituals, unfamiliar cocktails being passed around casually, and guests being told to just go along with things they didn't sign up for. One of the more unsettling details is about a cocktail mix known by some as Tusi or Toy. This wasn't your average drink. It reportedly caused confusion and disorientation, and some believe it was meant to push people beyond their personal limits. Even more troubling are the claims that hidden cameras were placed throughout these venues, not to capture fun memories, but to record people in vulnerable states, perhaps for leverage or silent control. That's where the word initiation comes in. It wasn't just about partying, it was about crossing a line and never being able to come back. Andre 3000, the musical genius behind Outkast, could have had it all. He was admired, influential, and known for pushing creative boundaries. But just when the world wanted more, he chose to walk away. At first, it seemed like an artist retreating to find himself. But over time, Andre dropped subtle hints that told a different story. In a rare interview, he admitted fame was a kind of trap, saying he didn't like what it turned people into. And though he never directly accused anyone, his body language, tone, and pauses suggested he had seen things in the industry that left him deeply unsettled.
Being famous really sucks, man. Like, it's so unhuman. Like, I can't remember his name, but there was this classical pianist that said it's actually unnatural and actually detrimental to a human to have that much admiration, because it actually changes the way you think. It changes the way you move. I'm coming to grips with it, I think, because I'm older now. Like, I really see it as I'm just being used for something. You know what I mean? And I'm happy that I'm being used in a greater scheme. Like, I kind of have looked at my whole career and looked at where I am now, and I kind of feel like I'm a catalyst kind of artist, where I'll do a thing that I naturally do, and then, you know, people see it, and then the reaction of that spawns other things to happen, you know what I mean? So I'm always watching, well, how am I being used? Like, you know, what's happening? Yeah. Like, what's going on right now, you know? You can't be mad at that.
But when you give up your manhood, I've never seen somebody recover from it. That was all the people that went to the puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never gonna be a consequence for what they were doing. Get punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man. So I believe that's a big problem with a lot of the actors out there because they get fluid, and next thing you know, once you go fluid, it's gone. You don't have any foundation to pull yourself back from. So maintain your man card, no matter what.
Man, I mean, you know, one of the things you're seeing, you went to a whole different place.
Sorry.
No, I get it. So you see some guys struggling with that. You see Bieber struggling with that. You see some of these guys struggling with that.
They can't get it out of their head. They can't get it out of their head. The things that they did, no matter how they did it, whether they were drunk or high or whatever, you gave up your man card. You need therapy. And that's the thing that hurts them the most. And so they end up on drugs, end up every way to try and get rid of any principles there are. And that's what the business does. And the women that trade their bodies to go and get the role, they get to the point where they have their Oscar, they have their money, but they don't have their dream. They don't have the soul that they started with. So it's like achieving don't mean anything. If I get all the Nobel Prizes from doing all of this, but in the process I have to trade out all of my integrity to do it so that they can stay in place, what benefit is that if I lose my integrity? You got to go in as a principal. And what we were brought in here as men. We produce 1,500 sperm per heartbeat for a reason, because the aggression is necessary. You don't trade that in, no matter what.
Did you ever have the opportunity where you got invited and you said no to it?
Hell yeah.
What was the consequences when you said no?
Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at me. Then next thing you know, okay, hey, will you help me? I want to hear your music. So I come over there and I play the music, and he's sitting there just looking at me, like waiting. Okay. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week. And I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to That's what my assistant said. I was like, oh, okay. Now I get it.
Fans have speculated that Andre's experiences at elite parties, possibly hosted by Diddy or others in similar circles, played a major role in his decision. Allegedly, he was invited into rooms where he saw things that didn't sit right with him, events where power dynamics were skewed and personal boundaries blurred. And rather than allow himself to be changed or coerced, he did the only thing he could. He left.
The Kanye song, that subject matter, like I knew he was working on this album called Donda. And I knew he had lost his mom just like I lost my mom. So I knew that subject matter better than anyone. And it's hard to explain to anyone, like until you lose a parent, you can't even explain it to anyone. So when he said, hey, I want to play this album for you, he played me the whole Donda album. He actually sent it to me and said, give me your opinions on these songs, give me your comments. And I actually listened to the whole album and gave notes on, what I felt about the songs. He took them in how he would. And he said, yeah, man, I'd like you to contribute to this album.
Andre's silence was his shield. But now, with other stories coming to light, people are starting to understand that maybe his disappearance wasn't about being reclusive. It was about self-preservation.
There have been rumors circulating online that Diddy may have poisoned Jamie Foxx, which caused his 2023 hospitalization. In his Netflix show, he compared Combs to the devil in revealing his near-death experience after a brain bleed and stroke. He said, I say this all the time, I saw the tunnel, I didn't see the light. It was hot in that tunnel. I thought, shit, have I gone to the wrong place? I looked up at the end of a tunnel and I thought I saw the devil saying, come on, or was that Puffy? I'm effing around, but if that was Puffy at a flaming bottle of Johnson, and no, I'm just kidding, I think that you have taken that to be a not too oblique reference to the fact that he's suggesting he may too have been poisoned.
Jamie Foxx said out of his mouth that his partner handed him an Advil, and after he took that Advil, he woke up 22 days later. That's what he said out of his mouth. I feel like us as a species, I feel like human skepticism has become a virus, because if we don't trust the words of our peers, where are we as a species? Eyewitness testimony and circumstantial evidence is enough to get a person a life sentence in any court on the earth. Why is it that when people are whistleblowing and putting their life and livelihood on the line, they receive so much scrutiny? I don't think that's by chance.
I mean, why would Diddy want to poison Jamie Foxx?
If you know that you have, well, just to give some insight to people watching, when you come under federal investigation, they send you a target letter. You know, you get informed that you're being investigated. So if you wanted to tie up loose ends and you were concerned that people that you knew could incriminate you, you may have interest in eliminating them. We've seen this all throughout history.
I mean, this sounds kind of mafioso stuff, but I sense that you're talking from a lot of experience here, that you genuinely believe this is a highly dangerous situation involving a highly dangerous man with very dangerous people acting on his behalf, potentially.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely speaking from experience. This is definitely a highly dangerous situation because this guy was the middleman. He was the party guy. He was the person who lined up the parties and festivities for a lot of guys a lot more wealthy and affluent than him. So, you know, I'm a person who believes that the Epstein's list is very similar to Diddy's list. I'm a believer in that. And, you know, whenever it comes to protecting women and children, I'm going to be fierce. Big ups to my sponsor, Stallion Gear, for putting up funds to help us go out and help people. You know, I want to salute Michael Franzese because he's probably the only famous person who donated to our campaign for protecting women and children, going down to the orphanages.
Jamie Foxx has always been a magnetic figure. Funny, soulful, and immensely talented. So when news broke of a sudden medical crisis, fans around the world were shocked. For months, there was radio silence, no updates, no public appearances, just whispers. Then, when Jamie finally re-emerged, he made a haunting statement. "I went to hell and back." He didn't elaborate, but his eyes said it all. The weariness, the caution, the slight tremble in his voice. He wasn't just talking about a physical ailment.
Look, April 11th last year, bad headache. Asked my boy for an Advil. I was gone for 20 days. I don't remember anything. So they told me, I'm in Atlanta, they told me, my sister and my daughter took me to the first doctor. They did a cortisone shot. The next doctor said, something going on up there. I won't say it on camera, I won't say it.
Today, we are finally hearing from Oscar and Grammy winner Jamie Foxx after his mysterious health scare, saying he has been to hell and back. Foxx said on social media that he's recovering from the medical condition that sent him to the hospital in April. He didn't disclose the illness.
Tell you, Joe, I didn't want you to see me with tubes running out of me and trying to figure out if I was gonna make it through.
But I knew that he wanted to tell it in his own way. I'll run some more from Talk of the Table when I got to talk to him backstage when he was congratulating his crowd, the team that worked with him. But what you see is how talented he is.
Yeah.
And he says humor got him through.
Wow.
He had the doctors and the nurses that were there, and he brought them up, on the stage. He's an amazing human being, and it's just so nice to see that he's back and in fine form.
Selfishly, I've been waiting for him to hit the stage again because I've been
100%.
following him since the Living Color
100%.
stand-up days.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it's under these circumstances, but I'm glad he's back in his rhythm, doing his thing.
Doing his thing and killing it as usual.
According to various insiders, Jamie was no stranger to Diddy's party scene. In fact, there's talk that early on, Jamie would often attend these events posing as a cameraman. Not for fun, but to stay out of the spotlight while documenting what happened behind the scenes. That puts a whole new layer of intrigue on things.
Too. I don't know who he's pissed off, who up in that echelon he's pissed off, but they checked his quick. He's now paid his dues. And what's gonna happen is that in the next week or two, some other crazy explosion happen to some sacrificial lamb to drown this story out. Facts. Mark my word. In the next week or two, some crazy story you've never thought about. What the You forget about this 2 weeks. Remember I told you. Again,
if he truly had footage or knowledge of things that weren't meant to be known, that could explain his guarded return. Some believe Jamie's health scare was part of a much larger chain of events that started long before he ended up in a hospital. What we do know is this: he came back different, he came back quieter, and some say he came back afraid.
His freak-out parties. In attendance were celebrities, politicians, athletes, international dignitaries like British royalty, Prince Harry, and music label executives. Lil Rod claimed some of the biggest names in the recording industry sponsored these parties with drugs and underage girls. The CEO of Universal Music, Lucian Grange, is named as a defendant. So is the former CEO of Motown Records, Ethiopia Habert Mariam, and others. Lil Rod says hidden cameras were in every room of Diddy's homes. Lil Rod believes that Mr. Combs possesses compromising footage of every person that has attended his freak-off parties and his house parties. Salacious tapes of Hollywood's biggest names, including record CEOs and politicians, doing drugs and cavorting with prostitutes and minors. The complaint argues that these freak-off parties were a business model. Young and up-and-coming talent attended and were promised career opportunities and access to music executives. They were then plied with drugs and alcohol, filmed. Some were blackmailed. There was a quid pro quo, according to the complaint. Lil Rod said not only were these music executives sponsoring these parties, they were handing Diddy large sums of cash that he used to pay for workers and drugs. Something tells me the IRS is going to be interested.
Recently, Steve Stout was on Club Shay Shay, and they spoke about a moment where 50 Cent crashed the stage that you were on. It was you, Jay-Z, and Kanye.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking...
And Swiss.
And
right? Puff, too.
Puff was on that stage, too. I thought so.
Swiss, Puff, Jay, Ye, me, and Cuz.
And 50 jump.
Yeah.
How does this, first of all, how did the original moment, right? Because I think about like Jay on stage with Alicia and Little Mama runs out there, right? Like, how does this monumental moment even come about before?
Well, I mean, we was all backstage before the show.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't really never no pressure, you know, it wasn't nothing but some love. It wasn't like
no smoke.
It wasn't no like no forceful entry or no shit. You know, it was open invitation.
You and 50 got a beef or something, man? Because I seen a post today where they were saying that you were supposed to be in I guess one of the Power, what's the name? I guess two of the actors on the show said that you were actually supposed to be on the show, and then they replaced you with Method Man, and they weren't expecting it or something.
No, that's not true. 50 and I, we were executive producers on a different show outside of the Power universe. But nah, man, me and 50 cool. I'm the only one who's not offended by his brass approach, and he's not offended by mine. So, you know, we play rough, but we ain't no issue. It's a mutual respect, though.
T.I., a respected artist and entrepreneur, has long walked a fine line between mainstream success and cultural truth-telling. And over the years, he's made veiled comments about certain parties in the industry, saying that not all invitations should be accepted. While he hasn't detailed what he saw, he's hinted that certain elite gatherings are less about networking and more about manipulation. T.I. talks about being in rooms where people are expected to go along with things they wouldn't normally be comfortable with, and how refusing to play that game often comes at a cost. It's possible that T.I., like Jamie and Andre, found himself standing at a fork in the road. Play along and stay relevant, or step back and protect your peace. And his interviews suggest he chose the latter more than once. He speaks like a man who knows the stakes. And when you watch him talk about industry pressure, his eyes say more than his words ever could.
You had made mention about Jamie Foxx, or he had made mention himself in a special talking about his almost losing his life. And his hospitalization was due to Diddy. There are stories of him getting beat up and getting put, but I know he was on a movie set, but something from an altercation or something from drug related that was given to him.
Diddy will pull up and get wild with you by himself. Like he's not soft. So that's the whole thing with him. Like, you know.
He'll pull up and take something like it.
Bro, he'll pull up and, bro, he slapped Drake.
He did, and everyone looked over that.
Oh, I'm not gonna call him a gangster. But he be on some tough shit. And it'll piss you off, like his son with the lip gloss on and the waves all the time.
Yeah.
He swear he a gangster, bro. I been like, bro, we gotta get crazy with you in here.
I mean, anyone who probably do a lot of cocaine will feel all kind of invincible. Will feel all kind of courageous.
With money?
With money, I believe they'll do a lot outside of normal man, who's rational. and just say, let me post up. But let me get your take on with Jamie Foxx, because mind you, Diddy parties and Jamie Foxx parties were the two black Hollywood elite parties that you would always hear about. That was like, you gotta be there to see it. For him to say that I was hospitalized possibly because of something that happened with Diddy.
He thought he was gonna tell.
Go.
So look, I'm a shout out Big Dugas, my right hand man. Shout out folks. He have a very interesting Jamie Foxx story. I don't know if you know about this or seen it.
No.
Give us a Cliff Notes.
I'm gonna let him come on here and tell that, but I'll say this though.
I know he said something about Jamie Foxx in a bathroom.
It wasn't Jamie Foxx in the bathroom, it was his party.
Okay, it was his party, and then the bathroom situation went down.
Now look, bro, dude got my right hand man, bro. Like, me and him been outside together 15 years. But that's small. Like, he the reason I'm alive right now. You feel me? Like, he don't really care about money like that. Like, he don't really care about a lot of them. As long as he got his jewelry, he got his cup, he got his gun, and we doing our thing, he cool.
Yeah, that's all you need in life.
So, whenever I know I got a situation coming up and, the risk of dying is high, dude gonna make sure he there. That's what he like to do.
Right.
But anywhere I take my boy, I have to give him certain guidelines. On this particular day, I say, bro, I don't know what we're gonna see in here, but we get $2,500 a piece to keep these two models right here safe at this event. Don't get out of my eyesight. He said, Gordo, that's my nickname, Gordo. I said, Gordo, I love you, but I gotta go to the bathroom. I say, okay, bro, the bathroom over there, I think. So I'm over here dealing with them. About 30 seconds go, I hear, he got a gun. So I'm like, I instantly know, I say, God. I look over there, I see he got joined up and it's out and he pointed it at somebody. He said, hey man, everybody get on the ground. So now here I go, I gotta say, y'all stay right there. I come over there. 5 dudes in the bathroom. Everybody pants at their ankles. One dude even had no pants on at all. He even had no socks on. He getting extra crazy. I'm like, dude, what you just see? He say, bro, these motherfuckers all pulling each other.
P. Diddy and Jamie Foxx. What do you think really happened, right? You might have heard Joe Rogan talking on this thing right here. He says, look, it's possible that, that this really did happen. Because on Jamie Foxx's little comedic show that you'll be seeing soon, he pretty much says, hey, look, man, it wasn't the COVID-19 vaccine that got the best of me. It was P. Diddy. He pretty much poisoned me. Joe Rogan says, look, there's a very good possibility that this really did happen, right? But there's also a possibility that's just all part of his comedic show. But whatever the case is, you're probably going to find out soon what the real is, right? You never know. P. Diddy had a lot of going on, so I think it is possible. Maybe Jamie Foxx knew some things that he didn't really want Jamie to find out. They're saying that Jamie's the one that put the FBI on him, on P. Diddy. Don't know if that's true, but you know what? Some things are going to come out of the, things end up coming to light, right? Whatever's done in the dark comes to the light. You never know. P. Diddy did a lot of wild stuff, thousands of bottles of baby oil from Costco, even though they don't sell it that way.
The relationship Diddy had with Jamie Foxx, well, I met Jamie Foxx on the tour bus. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know, we was at oh my God, it slipped my mind where we was at. But they was on some friendship stuff, and it was a tour bus, and Puff was in the back, and there was a lot of girls in the front, and Jamie was just real touchy-feely, but Puff didn't come out the back. I don't know if Puff came out the back of the tour bus. You understand? And Jamie went back there for a minute or so, then he just came out, and he was all touchy-feely with the girls, and I'm looking at this dude like, wow, this dude kind of like touchy-feely with these girls, and he don't even know them. They know him because he's Jamie Foxx, but he didn't know them. So I don't really know their real relationship or how close they was. I didn't meet Jamie Foxx and really have a conversation with him until I was at his house and I was with Scott Storch. So I don't know how close they was and how close they wasn't. But when I met and I had a conversation with Jamie Foxx, it was about, he was talking about people coming out there to California and show business, and the rappers and the singers and stuff like that, and they get connected with the gang members, and the gang members have a whole different ideology. And he was telling us that people mess up when they get with the gang members because their ideology and what they want out of them is totally what they looking for, whether you use them for security or whatever. And then this time we was at his house, and Scott Storch was doing some beats and doing some music for him. And I was playing pool, and the dude told me, say, yo, I was playing Jamie Foxx stuff. And he said, yo, let me just tell you something. If you beat him, especially on his table, and I wasn't no hell of a pool player. I was damn good. I was good, but I was no hell of a pool player. I'm sitting up there playing, the dude say, yo, man, if you beat him, you gonna have to beat him all night, or he ain't gonna let you go home. I said, what do you mean he ain't gonna let me go home? He said, nah, man, he hate to lose. I'm letting you know that. And me and Scott had been out all day, so I scratched on the 8 ball, and he called that a win. So I said, good, all right, I scratched on the 8 ball. I did that so we could leave. But him and Diddy relationship, and I see what they saying about what happened, and I really want to hear the full story about what's going on with him and Diddy, and if he really said in this show that Diddy, poisoned him, or he's the reason why he got sick that night. I want to hear that for myself, but I know it's trending on the internet, but I don't know how true it is. I don't know their relationship as far as other than he was cool enough to get on the tour bus, fill up the girls and go to the back room and chill with Diddy, then come out, fill up the girls and leave. That's all I know.
Gene Deal, former bodyguard to Diddy, has become one of the most vocal critics of his former boss. Unlike many who stay silent, Gene has used his platform to pull back the curtain, and his latest revelations about Jamie Foxx are chilling. In one of his interviews, Gene discussed how Jamie Foxx was a regular face at certain parties, but not always by choice. He described Jamie as someone who eventually started to distance himself after realizing what was really going on. Gene made it clear there were levels to these events, and the deeper you went, the harder it was to leave untouched. Gene even hinted that Jamie may have seen or heard things that made him a liability, not just a guest. And if that's true, it adds a serious layer of concern to Jamie's mysterious health battle. Gene also questioned how many other artists went through similar things, but never spoke up, either because they were scared, silenced, or simply disappeared. His words have resonated with a public growing more suspicious of the entertainment elite.
Like, are those midgets? Because people were it's people over them, like it's people trying to hide what they're doing.
Adults who are little people, or are you talking about minors?
Am I gonna get in trouble? I don't want to say I witnessed any of that crazy stuff, but we all have common sense. Little people that's not supposed to be there.
You're talking about underage people.
It's a shame.
Is this woman, Tania, is she really saying that there were minors involved in these freak-offs?
That is exactly what she's saying, Billy. Now, as for what they were doing, she never really could get a clean look at it. She said there was a wall of adults encircling them who clearly didn't want everyone at the party to see what was happening there. She said when she saw this scene with the younger people that it was about 7 a.m. and that the party had been going all night.
Did anyone ask her why didn't she leave, and what was she doing?
She was there as the guest of a Saudi prince. As to why she didn't leave, I don't know what time she left. I agree with you that once you see something like she's describing, that's the time to tip out the door.
Or call the FBI. I mean,
or call the FBI, exactly. But, you know, that's the other thing that we've heard from a lot of people who've been involved in parties with Diddy, that there are NDAs that are signed, and you walk out and you feel like, I can't say anything to anyone.
There's no vindication for me because for 4 years I've been screaming, not just Diddy, but Diddy and Jay-Z are monsters. And the victim-making machine kept going on.
Jay-Z has been notable by his silence since these charges were brought against Diddy. Why do you think that is?
Because that's what he does. He starts little fires everywhere, forces everyone involved to go and carry water while he sneaks away without a response. That changes now, Sean.
On the surface, these stories might sound like Hollywood drama, but when you line them up, the sudden medical events, the quiet retreats, the cryptic interviews, it starts looking like a pattern. There's a term floating around in these circles, freak off. It's said that these weren't parties in the normal sense. They were carefully orchestrated environments where people were tested, where power was exerted in subtle psychological ways. You weren't just invited, you were observed, recorded, and if you played along, you earned access. But if you pushed back, you were either cast out or quietly reminded of what you risked losing. This isn't just about Diddy, it's about a culture that values silence over truth, over boundaries. And in that kind of system, it makes sense why people like Andre and Jamie would disappear, because sometimes staying famous means giving up parts of yourself you can never reclaim.
Ahem. Can Jaguar Wright please come to the front of the class, please? Miss Wright, you used to say that you would walk girls out of the freak-offs. Is that not true? You said in detail, with great passion, that you were walking them out of the freak-offs. As far as we know, freak-offs consisted of 3 people: Diddy, Cassie, who was never walked out of, and male f***ers. Who did you walk out of the freak-offs? Because you said you were saving women. Cassie, as far as we know, was the only woman there, and you didn't save her. So who did you save? I think now that we have a clear vision of what the freak-offs were, Cassie, a f***er, and Diddy master in the corner, we know now Jaguar Wright was not there. She was not saving anyone. She was not walking anyone out of the freak-offs. Are you serious? We still have people who are like, well, Jaguar was right about Diddy. She said she was at the freak-offs saving people. That is obviously now not true. As far as we know now, the freak-offs were not Hollywood-filled, eyes-wide-shut parties with tons of people that someone like Jaguar Wright could somehow sneak into and pull people out of. They were tiny things in hotel rooms. Stop telling me, well, Jaguar was right about Puff. She was not.
I'm going to tell you who I believe is on the tapes. I believe Barack Obama got a tape.
Yeah, he playing hide the hot dog.
I know Jennifer Lopez has multiple tapes.
Oh, yeah. Oof.
I know Beyonce got a tape. I definitely know they probably recycled some old Stevie J and Eve stuff. I know Drake got a tape. I know Rihanna got a tape. I know Chris Brown's on one of them tapes. I know Trey Songz has been like a supporting actor in many freak-off films. Definitely Usher. I think what would shock people are the politicians and the royals that were on that tape. And I'm still trying to figure out when Harry and Meghan are going to be honest about their freak-off tape.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody really wants to talk about the fact that the royal family has many times at Diddy party, especially that weirdo uncle.
Social media is often chaotic, but when truth bubbles up, it spreads fast. Clips of Gene Deal's interviews, Jamie's comments, and Andre's quiet revelations have gone viral. People are asking questions they never dared to before. Fans are beginning to piece together what's really been happening behind closed doors, and the reaction has been fierce. Why didn't we know sooner? Is this why so many stars burn out or vanish? How many careers were sacrificed to silence? The irony is, these stars gave us their best, their talent, their creativity, their time, and all they wanted was to share their art. But in return, some were pulled into a game they never signed up for.
I would have musical people come to my parties. So one particular time I threw a party for Puff.
I'm still standing taller than I've ever been.
Back in the day when Diddy was, that Diddy.
I'm straight to the top now. Go ahead, mommy, make it hot now.
So Diddy is like incredible at this time. And Diddy threw a party in Philly for $1 million. I said, man, you crazy. I said, I'll throw you a party at my crib for $400 and it'll rival this party. He got mad about that, but he got over it because he got to LA and he came. He said, make it happen, Playboy. And he came to my house. This one, We Ain't Going Nowhere was out. Dun, 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 dun. So at one point I told him we were actually in Philly and he was throwing a party. And he said, yo, Playboy, this party's $1.5 million. I said, for what? I mean, what are you saying? He said, it costs $1.5 million to throw this party. I said, Puff, oh my God, I love it. The party's amazing. Yes, the mayor is here and everything. I said, but that's too much money. I said, you come to my place in LA, I'll throw you a party for $400 that will rival this party. And he got a little mad because, he was like, yo, no, I'm known for this front. I said, no, I'm not. I respect you. I said, but LA, I just know how to get around.
The truth about Diddy's parties and the culture surrounding them isn't fully known, but enough has surfaced to give us pause. Andre 3000 chose silence over submission. Jamie Foxx walked through fire and came back with scars. T.I. chose distance. And Gene Deal is risking everything to tell the truth. What does that say about the world they left behind? Maybe it's time we stopped glamorizing access and started honoring integrity. Because sometimes walking away isn't weakness. It's the most courageous thing an artist can do. And for those still inside the machine, we see you. We hear the whispers. And maybe now, we're finally ready to listen. Let us know what you think in the comments below. If you like this video, hit that subscribe button so that you never miss out on any new videos. And until then, fam, keep it real.